I've got some pickups to do today. It's rainy, and rain has me feeling a certain way about how things are going with eBay sales. Sales have been slow, let's not deny it. Sales have definitely slowed down. I've never maintained that it will continue the way it has because, let's face it, COVID was a fantastic period in reselling history. Did we have a similar boom when people first discovered the internet and could put stuff online to sell? I don't know. I wasn't part of that boom, too young. But when I think about slow sales, the main thing I don't want you to do is to not do anything. And by that I mean, do things that are productive. That's going to be the theme of this whole conversation. I'm going to ramble on for a bit. I'm going to hit some pain points. I'm going to trigger some things. That's it, right? Like, I'm just going to speak my mind because fear can be very crippling. That's the premise of this. Fear can be very crippling and lead us to do nothing. It can lead us to hold tight, almost like if we're facing a bear and you freeze. You know, it can sometimes feel counterintuitive to do stuff because you don't know what to do. It can feel like I don't know what to do because everything I've done hasn't led to more sales. Therefore, it must mean that I know nothing. That's essentially the script that's playing in a lot of resellers' heads at the moment. It's like, I thought I knew what I was doing, but clearly I don't. But I also don't want to admit it. That's the starting point. Admit that what you're doing isn't working. But how do you admit what you're doing isn't working? Well, you talk to somebody, but who do you talk to? Other resellers. But I don't want to tell them all the secrets of what I do. I have a YouTube channel. I tell you guys a lot of stuff. If I count how many hours I've put into this channel in the last not even a year, it's a lot. And the fact that I still haven't told you guys everything tells you that there's so much to talk about in reselling. You know, the fact is, it's running a business. It's you are creating a machine that makes money. It's not as simple as, I know this product, I don't want anyone else to know this product, I'm keeping it a secret. It's not that simple, especially when you think about wanting to rely on it to provide an income for yourself. You know, even people who try and save money by bargain hunting, by, you know, getting coupons and keeping out for sales and clearance and whatever else, like odds bargain people, even they recognize that you can't keep the things to yourself. You just have to be on the pulse. When there's an offer, strike. So really, it starts to shift from, I know a place where I can get deals, to I need to be proactive at getting the deals. And that's where this talk is probably gonna hit a lot towards. It's that knowledge needs to meet with action, and that action must be practiced so that you have confidence in your ability to strike. I've met many resellers who like to talk about that one time they found this really cool deal, and the more I remember when I first started reselling, I used to think that, oh, that's so cool, you know, that's such a great find, and I would admire the eye for the deal. But now that I've done it for about 4-ish years, my response is no longer that. Whenever someone finds a deal, my next question is always, but did you find one more? But did you find another? But did you find another? Because I recognize that if you cannot make it recur, it's nothing. It's you know, it's like a free lunch, really. You don't admire people who get one free lunch, but you admire people who somehow manage to get free lunch all the time. Here's another example for you. Whenever, and this is coming from a boy, fine, let's say a boy's perspective, guy's perspective. So don't crucify me for this. I'm not being gender whatever. I'm not making a comment on females, but I've always maintained, and those who know me personally will say this, I've always said, if I was a woman, I would use my assets. Because when I remember turning the corner from being a child, teenager, then becoming an adult, and seeing how there are women who are beautiful who use it to their advantage. That's a fact. Some women do that. And there are some who enjoy the advantages but don't call it what it is. And when we get upset, when guys get upset that women can do that, we generally don't get upset at the women who know, acknowledge, and refine that. There's a very fine line between looking pleasing and it's like, we don't want to go down that route. And that's not the point. The point is, when we get upset, it's when they go, oh no, it's not that. No, it's like, no, it's not that, it's something else. It's when they don't admit it and we go, come on. Because really, what we're saying is, you would totally have my respect if you owned it, but if you don't, then it's just like those people in reselling, very similar, who go, no, I was just lucky to find that item. No, it's just maybe I just gotta say, no, just call it what it is. If you acknowledge that, because all of us have assets that we use. Some of us, it's the gift of the gab. Some of us, it's the ability to be goofy wherever. That's one of my assets. It's like, if there are 10 people in the room and I hear let's roll, my brain is probably the only brain of the 10 that says, let's just go on the ground and roll towards the door for fun and see who follows along. So own it. Don't be like, oh yeah, no, it's not really. Because that owning what you have to work with is the first step to recognizing this is something that I can consciously do. To the point about action and muscle, the point is I can consciously apply whatever idea, whatever concepts that are part of my identity, my persona, my upbringing. These ideas that I bring to the table in my business are things that I can apply and switch on. And that's super empowering, because you don't want to build anything based on luck. You don't want to build anything based on circumstance and coincidence and serendipity. No, you don't want to build anything on that. You can't, because you don't know what to do. If anything, if you have gotten this far by just being like lucky, right? Then the only thing that you can then say is, I'm very good at reacting when I need to react. I don't want to be a reactionary business. I want to be proactive. I want to know that even in the tough times, I can apply myself and get some sort of return, even if the return is less than what I'm used to seeing. That makes sense. And when things make sense, it's less risky, we feel more certain, and we feel more capable at taking action. So, when someone says something is risky, all risk really is uncertainty. I don't know what's happening and I don't know what to do about it. And so, understanding, because I'll give you an example, right? Imagine if you are a farmer and you know exactly how much crop you can produce from a certain square meterage of land. The moment a fire hits and that land gets cut, you already know that you're going to make less. You know exactly how much less that would be. That will make you upset because you have less of a return for your effort going forward, but it doesn't make you feel uncertain. Do you get what I mean? Like, because there is an idea, there is a skill, you can apply it, and surveying the landscape of the slower market, the shrinking market, you know exactly what you're going to get back. And then from that point on, you just go about your craft. You may figure out what you can do to make that return better by being creative. But then all it is the risk is in that part of the equation. It's not in there's a baseline. That's my point. There's a baseline. So, for example, if let's say 100 square meters, you can produce 80 units of crop. That gets cut, you now know you can make 50 units of crop. You may try and squeeze out another 30 or see how close to that 80 you can get by being creative, but that's where the uncertainty lies. It's the how resourceful can I be, how creative can I be to get back to what I used to have with less resources. Resourcefulness really is learning how to maximize what you have, not about how much you have to work with. So, what kind of mindset do we need to bring into slow sales season? The mindset of resourcefulness. Can I learn how to be resourceful? Can I figure out new ways to move product? Can I find new ways to get my product? So if I think of my business, I have established supply and established demand, so to speak. By that I mean I source in certain places, I sell on certain places. Can those places be more places? That suddenly opens up possibilities. Can I package my products in a different way? Simply put, there are some items that don't sell by themselves, and when you go to Office Works, probably not Office Works, Harvey Norman, good guys, electronics people, white goods people, you start to see packaging really take shape. It's things like, oh, do we package how many toners do we package with the printers? And do we also throw in a free ream of paper? Do we, they're just trying to find ways to make the thing buyable. And depending on how they package, the buyable becomes a faster buyable or a slower buyable. But recognizing that without the packaging, it may not be buyable, So when you look at your product, you ask yourself, how can I offer this differently so that someone sees value in it that hasn't seen value in my store before? A good example is if you sell I don't do clothing much, but I can only imagine if you are someone who already curates clothing and you have an eye for clothing, if it's slow sales season and you can't move the tops and the bottoms separately, but you understand that there may be someone who likes the combination of the two, because when you put the two together, you go, this actually looks quite nice. Sell it as a set. You'll make less money per item, but at least you'll move the item. That's one way. Those people who do collectibles, memorabilia, things that have some sort of a following, bundling things together by the following of interest is another method. Spider-Man bundles, State of Origin bundles, even location-based souvenirs. Like, I know in the States where you have a lot more locations, you can have University of Kentucky bundles, because there's enough density of people who follow a particular thing that if you bundle something and it's all of the same size, it's all of the same whatever, you'll get bored. For less money per item, but as long as it's profitable, moves items, lets you churn, lets you get your money back, buy more items, sell more items, you are still in business. For more effort, I get that. But when you think back to that farmer who's trying to be creative with less wood, with less land to work with, less space, whatever, he's working harder. But at least he's getting through that season. When I think about being resourceful and churning through, I always remember the analogy that I learned from one of my business mentors about the butcher shop. Whenever one of the biases people have when they start a business is that they think that their business will run a particular way, and it's quite a visual exercise too. When you talk to anybody about what their business can be, oftentimes they'll be like, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But eventually, once you get them comfortable enough, maybe give them a swig of whiskey, break down some barriers, treat them to a meal. Eventually, when you get past that initial non-committal barrier, you will hear what is a very visual description of what their business could be. And that's because everyone grows up around different types of businesses, and your concept of what your business can be is very personal. So it could be that you grew up in a small town that had a strong customer service, customer-facing experience that when you start an online business, you somehow just thought that was very necessary. So it could be that you grew up in businesses that always, that was open for long hours. So as far as you're concerned, when you started your online business, that was just something that you would do. It never occurred to you that, hey, I can work for only 4 hours a day, because you grew up in a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week convenience shop. So therefore, if you work 8 hours a day, that's amazing already. And you might even feel like you're doing your customers a disservice by working less. The point being is we all have an image of what businesses are. And so when I was introduced to this butcher shop example, it made a lot of sense, because when you think about supply, the supply of meat, there's a whole animal. The animal gets broken down into several parts. Certain parts, depending on the place you're in, is more valuable than others. But we will say that the whole animal is useful. There's you can use every part of the cow one way or another. And there's this, and because of that example of the cow, there's a temptation that when you start a business, you want to maximize the whole cow. You want to hang on to every single bit because every single bit is worth money. By the time you break the bulk down, the whole cow, every part has profit. But if you have a small shop and you cannot store enough, you cannot store the whole cow. You have to throw bits away. You essentially have to decide at what point do you start throwing away, donating, whatever, because it's already been profitable enough for you to feed yourself, sustain the overhead of the business by a certain level of prime cut. So there's like the most prime parts of the cow, followed down all the way to certain parts which is like, you know what, this is usable, it's a common low value but it's still profitable. And then there's the bits that's like niche market that, you know, isn't worth that much, and you have to keep it for quite a long time. Those are your slow movers. So this mentor said to me, there's nothing wrong wanting to keep the whole cow if you have capacity to keep the whole cow. But you have to also learn to figure out how to churn this cow a lot faster, because you want more profit more regularly. That doesn't mean, because sometimes people think of, if I throw away the not valuable parts of the cow but that are still profitable, that I'm throwing away profit. Opportunity cost. This is where we learn about opportunity cost. If you only have a small window, a small storefront window, and that has to display the best cuts, I want you to be filling up that window every hour. List sold, list sold, list sold. And if you end up if you're throwing away the stuff that's just in the freezer that nobody wants, just throw it out faster. Free up that space so that you can store more of those prime cuts ready to put back onto the rack. You know, so that your death pile isn't a death pile, but like you're just storing stock that will be listed the moment the good stuff sells, because if you list too many of it, the price goes down. You want to be in that position, because that means that you have reload that other people in the business who are still trying to figure it out don't have. That's how you get your market share. Can you imagine, once again, butcher shop situation, right? You have, generally when you go anywhere to buy meat, you've got 2 or 3 butcher shops kind of like across from each other, side to side, and they do overlap to some extent. If you go to one store to buy what you want, and then the next time you happen to come in through a different entrance, because that's how the internet works, it brings you to places through a bunch of different ways, all roads lead to Rome type of a situation, and you go to the competitor and the competitor doesn't have it in stock. Familiarity says you go back to the one that you went to initially, right? But you go and it's in stock, and it's in stock, and it's in stock. Eventually, you just become the place to go to because you have it in stock. That's retention, just because you had the foresight to free up capacity, stock what's important. And granted, a lot of resellers, when they start reselling, they think that to get good stuff, it all comes down to being able to pick. And so they avoid the bulk deals altogether. They go, oh, if I buy bulk, I've got no place to store it all. Like, no, you're just storing the stuff that you normally would store anyways, but you're just buying it in bulk. You're making less profit. It is still profit. But when you offset the cost of having to go and pick through every single item, imagine you go to 5 thrift stores, you get 10 items, right? Or you pick out one bulk lot, you get the same 10 items. But when you pick those items individually, without throwing away stuff, it takes you like 10 hours. Versus if you pick up one lot, it takes you 2 hours. What's 8 hours of your time worth? That's how I see it. So I've gotten flack for the fact that I've got a dumpster at home, and I fill up that dumpster almost every fortnight. And it's insane, because when you think about the fact that I sell toys, that's a lot of toys I'm throwing out. But a lot of it is I can't sell individually, and it's not because I don't love the environment or I don't like the circular economy. It's not any of that. It's the fact that if I keep keeping stuff just for the sake of keeping stuff because it has some sort of value, it's not, my business will not grow, and I will not be useful to you guys. The fact that I can be here telling you guys how to run a business and teach you guys different principles of how to get your business off the ground and how to go through slow sale periods, the fact that you appreciate all of this comes down to the fact that I have capacity. Where does that capacity come from? From the fact that I'm also willing to throw away stuff. That's one of the factors. So when you're going through a slow sale period, in a long roundabout way, because this video has gone on for like 20 minutes already, resist the temptation to hoard because you're running low on resource. Quick to throw, quick to sell, get that money, recycle, and churn, and try and get more out of your time. Yeah, that's one way of being resourceful. Bundle, learn to throw. When you're looking at when you have slow sale periods as well, it can be very tempting to insist that there's nothing you can do. It's very easy to insist that, because because it's like the whole, if what I'm doing works, why would I drastically change things and risk things not working? I get that, because some people will actually do the opposite. They'll be like, this doesn't work anymore, I'm going to go for the unknown because it's greener pastures. Two different things. One is about willingness to learn. The other one is about, I suppose, trying to like confirmation bias, leaning into something that may not be true. Okay, I'm confusing you guys. I'll deal with those two things separately. First one, pivoting. So just because something has worked and it's not working as good now doesn't mean that you just hang on to it, because slow periods are periods where you actually have less activity naturally. We've just talked about working a bit harder. Correct. Once you've acknowledged that there are things that you can fix, but from bundling, when you stare at your shop, you go, wait, these two things go together. So it's you recognizing, I can do something differently. I'm going to now give that a shot because that makes sense on principle. Confirmation bias, on the other hand, is more like where you're so afraid of getting it wrong that you'll find any information that tells you you're right, and then you just go do it. A good example of this, when we became parents, we met many mums who insisted on breastfeeding. Like those of you guys who are parents, you'll know this, right? Breast is best. We hear that the moment you conceive a child. That's a phrase that's like, breast is best, breast is best. And every mother looks forward to this wonderful thing called breastfeeding, until they realize that biology is sometimes actually, physiology, physical attributes do not always favor that dream. Inverted nipples, babies not having proper developed, mouths, what the word is, where they can't latch on, or the lips are not, the baby just doesn't want to do it. Like, all those things factor into it not happening. But because it gets told as breast is best, when a mother is sleep deprived, they've just given birth to a baby, and they're trying so hard to make this thing happen, they start to sound really delirious. They start scouring through forums, looking for anything that will tell them that they can still do it. And it comes from a place of love, but also, I'm afraid of not giving my child my best because it's my first child. And you see this go down with each child as well. Like a first child mom will clench onto this breast is best. A second child mom will be like, yeah, you know what, we've been down this road before. By the fourth, fifth child, they're like, you know what, it's formula, baby. Like, I can't do this. And it's like, I can't, not in I'm a lousy mother, but like, I just can't. I accept that I can't. It's just not me. All four of you never did it, so why would the fifth one? and they're like, they'll still try because we're always curious, but that's about it. They don't insist and it must happen. That happens in reselling too. New resellers, when they get in, they're like, I must be able to do this, and then they will scour through forums to try and I see this all the time, and it's really scary how easily it happens. You'll see a reseller post a question about free postage versus paid because I've heard this leads to more sales. I've heard, okay? Similar to how new moms hear breast is best, you will see resellers, I've heard this model works better than this model. I've heard this item sells better than this item. And then they will literally only respond to the comments that confirm what they believe because they want to believe it more, because it's easier to just do that. Despite the fact that after they've given it a shot, and it doesn't work, they'll just come and go, hey guys, I tried, this doesn't work. How do I continue to dropship? How do I continue to compete with China? I'm like, and this is where, if you want to become a good reseller in good and bad times, and you want to keep your head screwed on, you have to, it has to stop being a feeling thing. It has to become a, by feeling I mean like a feel good thing, right? Like I'm chasing the high. It needs to be a science. It needs to be just like how breastfeeding, inverted nipples mean that babies don't latch on properly. It's like being 5 foot trying to play in the NBA. Like the body isn't built for that process. It's a lot harder to do anything with that body. Likewise, if you don't understand drop shipping, but you keep insisting on wanting to drop ship and compete with China, you're not in a position to do it. If you're not the kind of person who has the connection, the key part, the science part, the connection with the supplier that will do a great job at a margin that will actually allow you to feed your family. Because let's face it, if you don't hold the stock, guess what? You need to put more effort into the marketing side of things. But I'm just going to put it on eBay and compete with everybody else. No, you need to do social media. You need to figure out how to do affiliate marketing. You need to figure out how to create content beyond just the stock content that the supplier gives you. But some people go, nope, it's meant to be an out-of-the-box package thing, and I'm meant to make the same amount of money as someone who puts in more effort. No, fundamentally doesn't work. So, and of course the people who do it well, I'm not going to tell you that, because they put in the effort. They spent all this time and effort to create content to move their items for bloody 3-cent commissions. Why would they tell you that that's what you need to do? The margin for competition is so slim. But no, they will go on social media and then they will complain, ask for more help. Essentially what they're saying is, I want more of this margin. And the people who do well are just like, no, we're not going to tell you exactly how to do it. It's not that hard. So the poster would then read, it's not that hard. And then they will go, well, if it's not that hard, I'm going to keep going at it. Frustratingly. So hence, please be during slow times, be open to learn, be open to adjust, be open to apply yourself to things that are fundamentally sound. Do not cling on to this confirmation bias that you've got, that it must continue to work. Nah, you're just asking for trouble. The other thing is, when you are during a slow sale period, it's a great time to acknowledge when you're wrong. So by that we mean, if you're able to find a community of resellers whom you trust, who also don't compete with you, those two things seem counterintuitive, but let me explain. It's easy to think that when you become a business person, I must not talk to my competitors. I must avoid competition at all costs because I'm trying to protect my little business. That's fair, because you're small, you don't have any capacity to play offense and defense. And by that we mean, you want to aggressively take market share, but you don't want to also have to keep defending your prices and defending another. And it's effort. I've done both, and it's tedious. So, when you're a small reseller starting out, feeling that way, completely logical, completely reasonable. But there comes a point where you need other people to comment on your business because your perspective will be focused at certain places more than others based on how you're naturally inclined. And by that we mean, if you're someone who very much enjoys sales, you will naturally focus a lot more on the sales and not so much on the inventory management. If you're someone who is OCD, likes to keep things tidy, and you're all about knowing where everything is, you will have fantastic storage, but you would not work on sales, and you would just expect your sales to happen as it happens. Which means that if you're in the first category, your warehouse looks like a bomb site. That's me. I'm not very organized at all. I'm starting to put a lot more work into it. But at the start, I remembered I used to ship things out of a small butcher's island thing, that those butcher's islands that are about 30 centimeters by 60 centimeters that you add to a kitchen that doesn't have an island. I used to pack my stuff on that. You now see I've got a 3x1 kind of bar 3x1 kind of setup where it's 1x1 bar tables times 3. But there was a time when I thought that was enough, because all I want to do is just bring stuff home, dump it places, and then grab stuff, photograph, put it in less dumpy places, and then pull it out again. Many people have that in the background. The number of resellers I see, you look in their background, you go, how do you find stuff in that? That's because they are naturally inclined to do one aspect instead of other aspects. Conversely, if you're the kind of person that is super storage oriented, you know where everything is, your warehouse looks immaculate, but you've not adjusted titles for years. Since you started, the moment you were mucking around with titles, you experimented because you didn't have any feedback. The moment you started making sales, you thought, yep, that SEO is sorted. You just have not revised any of your titles since then. For most people, if it works, it works. But when sales are slow, that's the first thing you can fix. People may be searching for your item differently. More people may be searching for your item using other keywords. Things may have changed in your industry such that a new keyword could actually make a difference. So here's one, materials may have changed names, in which case plastic may not be good enough. You may have to put words like vinyl in your title so people can distinguish between plastic and vinyl. People may no longer understand. Here's one for toys. People don't appreciate what die-cast actually means. A lot of people just assume metal is metal. And when the number of times I've seen model vehicles or action figures that are die-cast, and all they have is die-cast in the title and die-cast in the material, they have not bothered with the word metal. But there are young kids who are going, hey, I like this thing, I'm going to start following it. They type in, Toyota Supra metal model car. That listing for diecast doesn't show up, which is insane because it's just one, all it is saying, but the purist will say, but it's diecast, it's not just metal. But that's not the point. It's an SEO thing, not a collector's, wiki fandom thing. You get the point. So if you're someone be open to making changes in your business during slow periods, because that's the time where if someone leaves you feedback, you can learn from that. I'm a minute away from pickup. We will continue this when I get back, because it says it's a minute away. This pickup was a lot of work. One of the few times, right? Offer to pay for it up front. The listing comes down, great deal. But he flaked on me twice. And they're supposed to be at the petrol station where I'm going to pick it up. So I'm hoping that they actually show up. I've got other stuff to pick up here anyway, so it's not like it's a complete waste of effort, but I'm hoping that this person will actually show. Fingers crossed. All right. Guess what? They did not flake, which is insane. Oh, so good, so good. So essentially, I picked up like 200 cars for. So no, I'll take that back. It's 100 cars for $200. So about $2 a car, and I normally sell them for like 5 to 10. Some of them are some pretty rare ones in there for about 40, 50. So I'm pretty happy about that. Long story short, it's going to be a 200 to 1K flip. So I'm pretty happy. Where were we? Getting feedback, being willing to admit that you're wrong. Okay. When I got into finance, and realized that I needed a mentor on how to run a business, I contacted a friend of mine, and he had a 10-year head start, I think, roughly, so he was my age, someone that I could relate to, but at the same time had built up enough of a business experience that I figured I would learn from him rather than some dude in the finance industry, because I didn't want to pick up any of the bad habits that I didn't want to get advice from someone who would tell me, just do that, that's fine, it's okay, just do that, those shortcutty kind of. I didn't want that, because I wanted sound advice. I wanted things that were grounded in principle. And so this friend of mine, we had paid sessions for a year. It was expensive, but completely worth it, because when I left, I learned so much. I learned how I could have learned a lot of that information for free, but not have had the guidance of how to put it all together. And I definitely wouldn't have known how to rank what was important versus not important. I would not have learned a lot about what was important to me. And because of that, worth it, would do it again. And I still recommend this to anybody who is wanting to take their reselling business seriously. And it's hard to make that call, especially during slow times, because paying for a coach when you don't have any money is not an option. Maybe you can negotiate some sort of ownership share down the line, revenue share, if your business can deal with that, but that's too complicated. What we're trying to say is get advice. Get advice from people who will teach you about business, not just people who will teach you about reselling. Because if you understand how business works, how cash flow works, you understand how supply and demand works, if you understand how customer experience works, those things will help you regardless of product. You will stop blaming the product. That's probably the one. You will stop blaming the product and the platform, because those are just tools, right? You know, if you understand, it's like if you spend enough time on Facebook, you will hear many resellers complain about eBay specifically, or they'll complain about certain products specifically. And then in the comments, you will also hear people who will say, no, actually, that product still works very well for me. DVDs are a great example of this. I keep talking about this because DVDs seem to be a discussion topic every other day. Not surprising, because Matt, Aussie Flipper, talks about DVDs all the time. It's one of those things that he sells, right? So when a reseller comes to reselling, they go onto YouTube, they learn from someone who is bigger, and so much bigger. DVDs and books, Mel and Matt. So whenever someone comes into reselling, they meet those two people first. And then I think two Aussie Flippers start talking about media too. So not surprisingly, media and books are the first thing that new resellers tend to kind of try their hands with. Go, yeah, you know, we can store it pretty easily. It's a low buy cost. Some people jump in, buy a whole pallet's worth, and then realize, crap, I can't move any of it. I don't know what it's worth. Or I picked out a whole bunch of $5 DVDs. Where are all the $50 ones? Where are all the $100 ones? You know, then they're not in here. And then they blame the category. Or they go into eBay and go, how does someone do DVDs for X dollars with free shipping? How do they even make any money? And then they freak out. And the fact is, eBay isn't the problem, the product isn't the problem, it's the fact that they didn't understand the business side of that item. Meaning, if you buy a pallet, who are you buying it from? Has the cream already been skimmed off the top? Why is somebody willing to sell you a pallet of DVDs at 30 cents a piece? Did they get it for free? Do you know? Right? That's business acumen. That's nothing to do with whether DVDs can sell or not. If they got it for free and they moved on the pallet with one bit of effort, chuck it onto a box very nicely, seal it up, and wait for someone to pick it up, they've made 30 cents times however many thousand DVDs they have in the pallet, right? That's their business model. What is your business model? And I think a lot of resellers don't understand that. They just assume that if someone sells an item, they can sell the item too, without understanding how much margin is left for the item, whether as a bundle, as a bulk lot, or as an individual item. That's where that visibility, that opening of the eyes only happens when you hang out with business people who have done it a lot longer than you have. They're very quick to go, why do you think he's doing it? Why do you think they're doing it that way? Why do you think they're willing to let that go for free? Why do you think they've added that instead of this other thing? Did you know that this person, when they sell this item, they also sell this other item? Why do you think they're not putting that in with the bundle but only using this one? Is there something missing with this model that this model doesn't have? It's a critical thinking that needs to be practiced. So you hang around with enough of these, and so you and critical thinking cynicism can sometimes be muddled into two. I did say this could be a bit of a ramble, because everything's kind of connected, right? And you need to understand how these things are connected. Like, there are people who are just cynical because they've been burnt, and then there are people who actually know why they got burnt and they're more critical and they're more cautious. You need to be able to tell the two apart, and you do that by hanging around with more people of a similar, ilk? The point being is, you eventually arrive at a place where if you want to learn more and you want to be able to triangulate how your business is doing, you need to have what is crowdsourced data. you need to have people that you trust. People whom you trust are not people who could put. People who you trust are not people who would not take your business from you. They are people who want to build your business up. I'm not saying the same thing two different ways. Motivation, right? We've talked about, do you run towards a goal or do you run away from things you hate? If you're driven towards something, you're going to go there no matter how, no matter what. But if you're running away from something, the moment that thing disappears, you stop. And then you run away from something else. And you're not directed. And you just go all over the place. There's no vision. So likewise, there are friends who will actually support your business and want to see you grow. A byproduct of that is they don't take business from you. But they might occasionally, but it's not on purpose, and it happens, and you don't break the relationship over what is an accident. So likewise, when you think about people who want to build your business up, they will tell you, hey, that doesn't work. This pattern of behavior doesn't work. And then you have to defend them with why it works, given how your business is different. And then you really need an understanding of your business. Otherwise, they'll just call bullshit on you. And that's the best part. Like I've had times where I've said, hey, I want to produce this much revenue in my business. And they will be like, nah, I don't think you can do it because the amount of effort it takes to process your stock is too much. And I'll go, no, it's not. And they'll go, well, how long does it take? And I'll go, shit, I don't know. Then how can you make that decision? Or because I feel like I have enough capacity. It's like, well, that's the problem, because then when you don't feel like you have capacity, do you not work? You see how if it's someone that I don't trust and someone who doesn't want to build my business up, I'll get offended. I'll be like, nah, fuck you, you know? But that's not what's happening, is it? Because they're just trying to break your model so that it can continue to build up and grow. So find people that you trust that will give you that kind of advice, so that way your model doesn't break on accident. You know, you deliberately trying to stress test the thing so that you know that it will serve you the more you do it. We're going to get some cash out and continue, because I'm not done with this one yet. We're back. I love coming to shopping centers in the morning to get cash out because there's no one here. Absolutely dislike coming to shopping centers in like the afternoon where everybody's here, after school rush, you know, like before 10 o'clock, no one's here. We come here like around after the school drop off, can't get parking just to get and what's up with like the disappearing ATMs? I feel like someone's done the math on this and decided, you know what, we're going to take away ATMs so people have to just pay for fees. And to be honest, given how often I need cash, which is not that often, because most people just take PID anyways, like I just pay the $2.50 to get cash and move on. I think I've paid like $4 in ATM fees once just to get cash and not have to go elsewhere. What is a bank? Does anyone even care? Not really. So by saying that, does that mean that cryptocurrency is one step closer to becoming? No, let's not go down that route. But look, okay, so where were we? Finding people who will break your business model for fun. And they do enjoy it. The number of times someone I trust has criticized my business and I go, yeah, that doesn't work. and then they have this like funny look on their face and I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? That's what you want, because if it comes from a place of love and trust, you take it. If it comes from a place of, hey dumbass, you know, you actually no, hey dumbass can also be a loving thing. You can see I've had many of these conversations where I've been the one to break the model and been the one whose model has been broken. And that's it, right? You learn so much from that exercise. You want people like that in your life. So how do you find people like that? Also, I must say, the best way to not be caught up in your own poop is to have people around you who tell you otherwise. Don't just don't just find people who blow smoke up your ass, right? Like You want people who don't just affirm what you do, but people who actually criticize because they have experience. That's it. And finding these people is actually quite simple. You go to a bunch of Facebook groups for reselling. You reach out to them via messages. Once you've identified them, don't take any offense if no one replies you, because the fact is everybody is limited in how much time and energy they have. So if someone were to DM me directly and say, hey John, can you help me with something? Depending on the time of day, I will, I won't. It's not a reflection on my willingness to help. I put in a lot of time to help the community. But it is a reflection on how much time I have after being a parent, trying to help you guys broadcast-wise via YouTube, trying to actually be a loving husband and a loving dad. Those of you who are parents in couples, you understand this. When the kids come along, the spouses always take a back seat, and there comes a point when the spouses go, what about me? And you go, yeah, what about you and me? Very natural. So you add those hats, right? I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I've got my own business to run, and then I've also got this channel going. If you message me directly, I may reply, I may not reply. I generally always reply eventually, but it's not going to be the way a best friend will reply you instantly, because I don't have the capacity. But you will eventually, if you persist with proper expectations, find people who reply to you enough that you go, I don't need someone to break my model every day, but I need them to break it once every 6 months. So I don't make a change, then revert back to my old ways. If that's the case, that response rate is perfectly adequate, isn't it? So that's how I've made friends in the reselling community. I've reached out to a bunch of different people. I have not taken offense when someone doesn't reply to me, because I acknowledge that they may not be available. But those who have been available, I've also reached out to people who have been told to just piss off, in which case that's also, it's reasonable, but it's not a nice way to go about it. Maybe I got them on a bad day, maybe they just don't like me. You know what, whatever the reason may be, I'll never know, and I'm not going to fixate on that, because I'm going to focus on the ones who have given me the time of day. How do you think like Jason, meeting the panel members, Chris, Mel, just messaging, say, hey, I'm this person, I'd like to know more about X, Y, and Z, can we have a chat? And then eventually they reply. So, not saying that they will to you for any reasons, personal or not personal, but I'm just saying that you may find yourself with enough reaching out, you'll get responses back of people who will want to help you. People have also reached out to me, and I've accepted some, not accepted some, but it's okay, it's just human, right? Once you find your little tribe of people that you trust, that you are happy to share information with, that they also are equally transparent with you, you will find that you stop being stuck in your business. You start seeing your business a little bit differently over time. You start making changes that will benefit your business. You start to stress less about the things that don't mean stuff, and you start to be more focused on the things that actually will make you money. And then when you come back to social media, you will start to realize that because of the community that you have built for yourself, that this general that you'll notice how lost people who don't have community actually are. And you'll start to be a lot kinder. You'll start to be a lot more empathetic. You'll start to be more helpful. How do you think I became this way? When I first started, I thought that I knew everything, and then I realized I didn't know everything. Okay, fine. I probably did know more than a lot of others, because this isn't my first rodeo at business as a whole. I had done flipping in the past before, and then I also ran a finance brokering thing. So I had some experience, but there were still things in this business that I knew nothing about. Granted, I never actually done product business as a business or relying on income thing. It's always been a bit of a hobby. And then the only other business I ran properly was a service-based business. So therefore, no inventory management, no staff, only subcontractors, not having to work out profit margins, because hey, it's just the value of my time. So yeah, getting sorry for the pause, I'm trying to find where Macca's is. I need coffee. We seem to be doing Macca's on these videos a lot. well, a lot by being this is the second video and we've done Macca's on the first video. So I guess maybe Macca's can be a thing. Where do I order? Here.
Hi, what can I get for you?
Hi, can I get a small flat white with an extra shot of coffee with oat milk?
Yep, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Oh, good. That was decent.
I'm not lactose intolerant, but I do like the sweetness of oat milk. Let's pay, and then we can talk some more.
Sorry, mate. What milk did you want?
Oat.
Oat, no worries. And that was all for today?
Yes.
Just a small flat white, extra shot of milk?
Yes.
There you are. Okay. Go and take it.
Yeah, so I suppose at the start I was like, I'd see some comments and go, really? You think that? Like, how did you arrive at that conclusion? Only to then realize they have no mirror. They have no sounding wall. It's just, they thought a thought.
Hi there, how you going?
Thank you.
Have a great day.
It's just, they've thought a thought and no one has told them otherwise. And then you start to feel bad for you. Oh man, they really do need help. So you need to find your group of people to be your mirror. I'll end with this example. It's from a I forget which book it is, but it's like C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien. They were Christian writers who used to write together a lot. I think 4 of them together. And then one of them died. And then C.S. Lewis actually said, I thought that when this person died, we would actually have more of each other. When we get together, we'd get more say in and then more out. But what we realized that we actually got less because we lost someone who would mirror us to each other. And then he said, I think that's, and then he goes on to explain how he reckons that's what heaven will be like, that the more of us that are there, the more of God we will have, because we get to experience God and His glory through the eyes of others. Likewise, when we find ourselves a community that we trust, that we are willing to, that we want to build up rather than tear down, we actually get so much more for ourselves because of this mirroring effect, right? I don't just, and then they all have to essentially pass each other's tests. So I really encourage you to do that. I encourage you to find people in your community, have the courage to reach out so that during this slow sales period, you have people that can actually break your model down so that you can make the changes you need to do better. When I first thought about talking about slow sales this morning, my brain immediately went to how to make changes in your business, and by that I mean, like, how to change listings, how to lower prices, but all these how-to tips, right? Like, you already know them. Like, the tools are at your disposal. You know that lowering prices will bring sales in. You know that if you just copy the promoted listings fee, you might get more impressions. There's an interesting little thing happening in the groups with with whether that actually works or not. But you taking more photos may or ending and selling similar with some slight changes may give you better impressions, a new ID number, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, all these hacks was where my brain went to first. But when I think about it, it's like you're just like how before when I said new resellers tend to blame the tools, blame the products. If you're the kind of person that doesn't have your mind and your heart sorted and aligned, you're gonna telling you more about tools doesn't help because you're just gonna blame the tools anyways. So you're gonna try a bunch of tools and it doesn't work because you don't have the mindset of how to put them to play. That's why I've been talking so much about, do you have people who actually check up on you? Do you have people who break your model? Do you have Do you have an appreciation of the things that actually work in your business that you can apply and regularly practice? That's why I started that, because when you fix that, suddenly the tools have new use. Suddenly you understand the place that discounting plays in a business. Suddenly you understand, right, if I dispose of my items that have value but not quick value or high value, quick and high value, I can't make more quick and high value of the other stuff. You know, what is my time worth? All of those things, right? If you fix those things and align those things and adjust those things, suddenly you know how to use the tools. Suddenly you will be a business that goes, actually, I will pay 10% promoted listings because I have noticed that my products move a lot faster. I'm still making profit because I'm willing to throw, I'm willing to make the profit, I'm copying the cost on both ends, but I'm also making profit a lot faster for my time. And then now you've figured out, and now you've set a bar at 10%. Guess what? Other people who come in and go, you know what, only 2% because I don't want to lose money, suddenly they will not compete, but you've set yourself up to play defense just simply by making that shift. Can you imagine if you're the kind of business that sources on Marketplace, Gumtree, eBay, right, for argument's sake, and everyone else has access to the same platforms to source? The buy cost for items is pretty similar. Everybody knows, okay? And then you somehow manage to figure out a way to churn through your products such that you can sell with a 10% promoted listings rate. There is no one who will enter your market, because think about the mindset shift required for someone to actually pay that rate. When they come into their business, just thinking minimum, you know, minimum promoted listings, minimum cost, everything is a minimum. Like you would literally kill that category. I'm gonna wait for this person to come home before I pick up something. So if you but you see what I mean? Like it comes with shift in mindset, understanding how your business works, understanding business principles, then having people in your community who break your model, and then only when you take those new eyes to your tools, you go tweak. Wow. And suddenly you're playing defense. Insane. So yeah, that's why I didn't start there. That's why this isn't a video on make this change, make that change, make this change, make that change in your listings, because you guys are on the tools enough. You know what tools are available to you. But that being said, let's talk about some tools. So actually wait, this person just came home. So let's not talk about tools. I'll get the stuff, then I'll come back. I'm picking up books for my son because he started reading books, and kids' books, they look thick, but they power through them really quickly. Like, you know, like you're talking Ninja Kid, Bad Guys, Captain Underpants, that kind of stuff. Like you give him a book, you think, this is how thick the book is. Surely it would take him a day. Nope. This is not Enid Blyton that takes a day for kids to read. We're talking like they're just some text, mostly comics. So he powers through like 4 a day. So I'm picking up a bundle of like 30 of them. So I'm hoping that this will last him this holiday and then we can flip it. All right, I realize I haven't even had a sip of my coffee. So busy talking to you guys. Okay. Oh, okay, good. All right, let's head back and do a bit of packing. And then I'm going to see Xiao for long today. Chris is going to show me how to do lives properly so that they are more beneficial to you guys. Essentially try and get it more, because yeah, it was the last live was looking at the screen, looking at the phone. And I think he's got like a dual, triple screen setup type thing. And just want to learn how to do that properly, because, you know, it's short of actually streaming everybody in in like an audible conversation. Like he's done really well, like, you know, channeling the chat in, and for people to feel like they can talk amongst themselves, and then they can ask questions, and then have questions related to it, and then he can wait for responses, and then choosing what bits of the chat to show and not show on the page. And just having things just running, I just found that really impressive. So I'd love to do more regular, more constructive kind of live chats with you guys. The aim being on Tuesdays to just do them at 10 o'clock, because when I did it last Tuesday, when I did it the Tuesday just gone by, you guys surprised me. You actually surprised me. I was expecting no one to be there. And then we had 12 people watching simultaneously at one point. And Chris and I were just going, we've got a bunch of night owls in reselling. But that's not surprising because a lot of us do this once we're done with our actual jobs. A lot of us don't find this hard to do at all. A lot of us will be listing, doing research, sourcing, and whatnot in the night hours because it is the only available time we have to do this thing that we enjoy that makes us money. So I think I'm going to be that Tuesday 10 o'clock guy. We can talk all the way to midnight if you guys want, especially in the new study space that I've set up that I've really enjoyed using because I've missed working in the house. Like that corner that you guys saw with the label printer and stuff, that's the inside space, but and not sitting on the couch. But it's you know, sitting on the couch puts you in a particular frame of mind. Like end of the day, you want to slump and then do some listings, that's fine. But when you're talking about engaging with content and you want to, you know, talk to the community, it's like a sit up. It's like a sit up in your chair type thing, and that's very hard to do. You know, if you're on the couch slouched backwards, or if you're sitting at a dining table cramped up in a corner. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I think I can do this. Yes. Okay. In terms of so back to tools. Someone actually commented, Jodstar on Instagram. She commented that about leaving feedback, and she said that when somebody, when she sends an item, somebody will comment on the item. She will message the person and then ask them if they've received the item, and if they have received the item, she will offer them a coupon. I thought it was amazing because the next thing that you expect someone to say is, and I ask them to leave feedback if everything's okay, or let me know if there are problems. That's the thing that everybody does that pisses buyers off, right? The whole, hi, can I just checking that everything's okay? Like, yeah, the tracking says delivered. I didn't message you. I guess it's okay. Why are you messaging me? Hi, do you know if there's anything wrong? Maybe you can leave us some, let us know. And then, if everything's okay, consider leaving us feedback. And then the buyer goes, there it is. More things for me to do. Like I don't have enough things to do with my time already. Don't you know interest rates are up? Don't you know that kids are annoying? Okay. I'm overreacting. You can tell I don't like that. But to give a coupon, like, hey, just checking that you got your item, that everything's fine, and I've seen that it's marked delivered, just letting you know, here's a coupon for next time if you want to buy anything else. There's no expiry date. Or it expires in 6 months to give you time to, because we list a bunch of different things. It could be a general store, be like, yeah, we list a bunch of different things. Something may be of interest to you, so here's a coupon that you can use in the next 6 months. Or it could be something like, if you've come to my store, I'm not sure if you've come to my store, just letting you know I am the biggest store selling this. Here's a coupon. It expires in the next 3 months. If you use it in the next 3 months. Or here's a coupon that gives you a free postage if you get the idea. Like it's you're saying, hey, thanks for coming. Glad that our first interaction went well. I'd love to have a second interaction with you. That benefits the both of us. That's the key part. We've talked about business principles this whole morning. You need to understand the equation here. Please leave us feedback if I can't solve a problem. If there are no problems, please leave us feedback. It's not a balanced equation. That's very much as a seller asking the buyer to do the right thing to benefit them. The buyer, as far as the buyer is concerned, I bought something, I paid, I got my item. That's the deal's done. The equation, the ledgers are balanced in that regard. Anything more, the seller pretty much owes you. But a lot of sellers don't appreciate that. They think that they're entitled to feedback, which they are not. Buyers are allowed to say nothing. Buyers are also allowed to say good things and really bad things. So when I see sellers join eBay, new sellers in particular, and they feel entitled to feedback, and they get all like, what's the word? They get the knickers in a knot when sellers don't leave feedback. I'm like, well, they're entitled to. Well, I left them feedback. Yeah, but how does buyer feedback really benefit a buyer? Not really. The only time that buyer feedback ever affects a buyer is when a seller looks at the buyer's feedback to see if they're worth selling to or not, which you shouldn't do in the first place. Like no buyer looks at their feedback and go, "Gee, I'm a good buyer. Wow, I needed praise today. Nobody tells me I'm good at anything, but when I log onto my eBay account and I click on my buyer feedback, golly, I'm an amazing individual." No, the buyer feedback does nothing. Oh, but then the only time I hear about buyer feedback, "Hey guys, I got this buyer, their feedback's all over the place." Or, "I got this buyer, they're behaving weird, but their feedback's really good. What should I do? This is confusing." Like, that's the only time you ever hear about buyer feedback being used for anything useful. Two hands on the wheel. Useful. So, so really, feedback is very much a seller thing. Buyers will use it to see if a seller is reliable. Yes, because you need the seller to deliver on something. A buyer just has to pay. That's it. So if you guys fixate on the whole buyer pay thing, that's why you read feedback, that's not the point of this whole portion of the video. Don't go there. So then this coupon idea, I love it because it's like, hey, our first interaction has ended and it's balanced. I would like for another chance to have this again. That's cool. So Judster, thank you for this suggestion. It's a great suggestion. I've never thought of doing it because it just felt like, I've stopped there. Like, a lot of people, they sell and then they go, "If I've done a good job, they'll come back." Why not encourage it? So true. And coupons are one of those things. I've never been good at coupons just because my main mental barrier with coupons is tracking them. Because once again, I'm not someone who's good at tracking things. I'm very good at selling things. I'm one of those guys that I'm like the guy that gym memberships were made for, meaning that I will sign up and not go, and then they will make money off me for a period of time until I realize I probably should cancel this. So because of that, it also affects my ability to track things ongoing for the most part. Like with YouTube, when I started YouTube, you guys know this, I did this like the OGs of this less than 1 year old channel. I started wanting to do like weekly themed videos, and then I did like, I think 3 weeks of them or 4 weeks of them, and then I realized, I can't track this. I don't know, like my brain just doesn't want to create content in a managed way. It doesn't want to come up with a topic and split it into subtopics ahead of time. It just wants to make content as content comes. So very salesy, because I'm a salesperson at the end of the day. So like I get the sales thing, I get the customer experience thing, which is why when someone says talk about this, I'm like, I will when it comes. And for the most part, it comes quite quickly, so you guys don't have to wait too long. But yeah, like the whole content calendar thing, if this ever ends up being like a monetizer, like a super monetized thing, which I don't think it will, but I hope it does. I mean, who doesn't want money? I will need to delegate this whole content thing to like a content creator, calendar manager person. Not for them to tell me what to say, but for them to at least just provide, for them to put the topics and subtopics into structure so that I can then talk about it the way I do. But essentially someone to go, "Today you're talking about postage. All right. What do I think about postage is?" Or, you know what I mean? So yeah, this whole coupon thing, I never thought about it, but it's a great idea, and I have to figure out how to do it in a way that I can track it so that I don't end up with a bunch of, 100 different coupon codes. And yeah. Is it a bad thing to have too many coupons? Not really. They don't really clash with each other either, the way postage rules do, if you set up too many of them and they can glitch up. But at the same time, you can imagine if you send coupons to too many people and they are varying in nature, buyers can get confused if they get a whiff that, "Hey, last week you sent me a 10% off thing with an expiry, but then this week you've sent me another 5% one with no expiry," and then, you know what I mean? Like, it can be easy to confuse customers such that they have to think and then they don't do. You don't want to paralyze your customers with analysis on discounts. So that's why for me, I just send offers to buyers, more so because I know that eBay's rules or eBay's parameters on that are buyers who have not received an offer before, buyers who are watching but haven't done anything, added to the cart but haven't checked out, clicked on the listing several times but haven't done anything beyond that, or haven't watched or added to their cart. and someone who has a good payment history. So someone who has too many items not paid, don't get sent offers. Someone who is on a block list doesn't get sent offers. So the parameters are pretty tight, such that the only wiggle room there is if somebody has a different username. So like for example, if you know John the Reseller 1 got sent an offer, and then he creates an account, John the Reseller 7 gets sent an offer as well because it's the same item. I think that's how I understand it. So, but that scenario is very slim. So really, your regular buyers with one account are not going to get confused by send offers. So that's why I clear them pretty much every hour. Every time I stop somewhere, and I have my phone in my hand, I clear all my offers. It does not take long, but I get a ton of sales just from doing that. Because you're striking while the iron's hot. That's what the whole point of that tool is. So when you get it, when you understand a tool and you do it, you know, like there are people who don't understand how the tool works, and they only use tools when they need it. And you know that saying, if you need it, it's too late. Send offers is one of those things. If you are getting good sales and you don't send offers, and you let it bank up to 4,000 send offers, and then suddenly one day they slow search, you go, I'm going to send offers to all these people. It doesn't work that way. By that time you may get some sales, but that conversion rate is going to be very low, significantly lower than if you just send them with every hour. Not everyone can do that. Most of you have jobs. Those of you do this part-time. I get it. But even back when I had other things to do, when I was a finance broker and I was doing eBay on the side, I would still send offers when I did toilet breaks, when I would, whenever I stopped. So understand the tool, use it. Yes, so coupons. Contact your buyers if things are good, essentially saying, we have had a great interaction, I'd like to have that again, here's a coupon. That's it. They'll take it up, they may take it up to you. And then obviously understanding how your category works. If you're a generalist store, don't send people coupons that only end in a month. That doesn't make sense, because you may not have an item that is of interest to them in the next month, in which case then the coupon is pointless. The coupon feels very selfish. But if you are a generalist store and you send someone a coupon with 6 months expiry, that makes more sense, because hey, and you just explain, hi, I replenish my store regularly. I may have something that is of interest to you. That's true. I may not, but I may. But if you're a store that sells women's clothing and you stock a particular size, because those of you who are niche stores, you have very tight parameters. You have I have very tight condition parameters for the toy cars that I sell, for the action figures that I sell. So I know that if a buyer comes, there's a very good chance if they've paid what they've paid for what I sell, they're going to do it again. If there are items of interest to them. So therefore, a little incentive of money will probably do the trick. So you guys might be like, yep, I replenish regularly, have lots of bright colors. I'm one of the biggest stores that sells this. I'd love for you to come back. Here's a coupon that expires in 3 months. There's a very good chance they will use it too. So, and if they don't, guess what? They'll message you. Because how do I know this? Because I send offers to all my buyers every hour, like I just said. And I've had, on many occasions, buyers message me back saying, hey, I got the offer the other day, I could not respond in time. Can you please send it again? And I'll go, you know what? I can't send it again because I can only send it once. But I'll just take it off the shipping, or if you just pay for it, I'll refund it to you manually. And then, that's the thing, right? I've told them, hey, trust me to do something. See, break it down. What is the equation? I've said, trust me to do something. Trust that I am a man of good faith. And then they check out at full price, and when they get that discount back, they're like, thank you so much. Like I've done something amazing. Like I've done a good deed. I haven't. I've just asked to be trusted. They've trusted me, and I've rewarded their trust. That's huge. You've moved from a 20% discount, 10% discount, whatever discount space. It's not about the money. You've made it emotional. You've made it intangible. That's valuable. Can you imagine going to a car dealership and the guy going, you know what? Just pay for it. I'll give you back the difference because the system's making it too difficult. You wouldn't do, historically you would never do that. But then you would imagine if you did it and the car salesman went, yeah, here's the money back. The next time you buy a car, you're going back to the same guy. You're like, you know what? I trust this guy because I don't trust anyone else. Because the fact is you don't. Not because everyone else is sleazy, but because this guy has asked for a chance to be trusted and you have trusted him. He literally set you up to believe that he's the only trustworthy salesperson on the face of the planet. And guess what? Because he's the only trustworthy person and it comes to money, you're not going to go to another salesperson hoping that they will set you up the same way. But the brain doesn't think like that. The brain just goes, this person is trustworthy. That's what I want. That's what I'm trying to help you guys do. Like, eBay is just the tool. It's not, you guys can't just go, oh, the platform. That's not the right attitude. It is not the right perspective on how to be successful as a business person. It's not a hack. There are so many ways you can work with these tools to actually have very sticky buyers on the platform, and it goes beyond the product. It goes beyond the product. If it was only about the product, this channel would be, hey guys, I found this item. It was, I found this item at the thrift store. It goes for $5, but usually it goes for this much money. You guys should keep a lookout for it. I don't do these videos because I understand it's not about the product. Every product has a chance of selling. You need to know how to make your buyers sticky. You need to know how to make your buyers regular. So it's not just about the product. You have to shake that. Like during slow sales periods, imagine, here's how excited I am about being a reseller. I recognize that my voice is going quite high. It's excitement. Like the fact that we can sell literally anything. Asterisks, not things that are illegal, things that can cause harm, you get the idea. But not prohibited items, but you can literally sell close to almost anything. And if you understand how to make buyers sticky, the moment sales slow down, the moment markets shrink, the only issue then becomes, do I have the money to buy stock to sell in another category? I want my only issue to be one of money. That's it. I don't want it to be, I don't know the category. I don't want it to be, I don't understand it. I want it to be, I understand it, I know it, I just need the money to go into it. If money is your only impediment to getting into a category, that is a very good place to be. Because then at least because accumulating money is a lot easier than accumulating knowledge with nuance. That's the thing. That's the qualifier. I don't just want to accumulate knowledge, because knowledge can be rubbish knowledge too. I want it to be knowledge with nuance. Nuance means properly weighted so that when I apply it, it makes sense and it works to its best effect. I want you guys to understand that. So therefore, therefore this channel will never be one of those, I bought this item for this much, here's how much it sells for, keep an eye out for it. No, not going to be that channel, because that doesn't help you when you struggle. It doesn't help you when you already know product, but what now? Because many of us get to that point where we max out. We go, hey, I've been selling this product, great, but I can't get past X number of dollars in revenue every single month. Every Christmas I have not passed this price point, and whenever it dips in the January February period, it's always been the same dip. What now? The what now is make your customers sticky. You use the tools in a different way. Find a community that supports you, wants to build you up, breaks your model for fun, that you can also do the same, so that you feel confident in selling whatever product it is you choose to sell. The best business people I know have gone from one product to another product, to service to another product, because they understand how it works, the tools, the principles that make money. And that's really it. So I think that's all I have to say about slow sales. Or do I have more? I don't know. I feel like that rant was more or less a good way to end this video. And I think we've already gone for about an hour. Second sip of coffee. But look, slow sales has everybody concerned, as it should. If you're not worried about slow sales, that's a bit concerning. But it doesn't mean that, but it's not no sales, right? It's slow sales, it's not no sales. Figuring how to up the intensity so that you get more sales. Work harder, working smarter, with all the things that I said before this. And start treating your buyers like people. Yeah, start treating your buyers like people. And by that we mean, don't just see them as online accounts signing in to buy stuff. The number of times sometimes there are bot accounts and sometimes there are accounts that are scam accounts, but that is not the majority, and therefore your response and your posture towards buyers on eBay should not be that of, they're all suspicious until otherwise proven. It should be, they are not suspicious until they are proven to be suspicious. And eBay has processes how to deal with suspicious buyers anyways. Treat them like people. could be new buyers on the platform. They could be buyers who don't know anything. They could be buyers who will ask for more photos. When you like, I one buyer literally yesterday, 7 feedback, had the English of like a 12-year-old, and just said, "Oh, hi, can I more photos?" And I went, if you click on the listing, you will find that because 7 feedback, so I just assumed that maybe they're new to the platform. I picked the assumption that would have helped me sell, not the ones that didn't help me sell, right? Could have gone 12-year-old, not first language, block, too hard, right? People do that. People actually do that. They actually will block accounts for bad English. Blows my mind. Someone likes your item, they want to give you money, give them the chance to give you money. Anyways, I replied saying, we take photos of every angle. If you click on the listing, you can scroll through the photos. Thank you. Bought it. Paid $11 plus $30 shipping to the States. Yeah. Give every buyer the chance. And here's how I was confirmed that they were new, and that they are just people. Okay. They sent me a screenshot of the listing they were interested in mobile form, meaning they didn't know that you could actually, when you go on the app, that you can scroll the photos like this. So when you're on your phone, right, there's like the first photo and then the listing details. They didn't know that they could just do this on the photo. They didn't see the 1 of 16 photo counter. They just thought that's the photo of the item. Maybe the first 6 things that they bought, or 7 things that they bought, were items that only had 1 stock photo. Could be an iPhone case, could be, you've seen listings with 1 photo. The hose for the nozzle for a hose, right? Those things, 1 photo, lifestyle photo, pretty self-explanatory. So maybe they just didn't know that you could scroll. Because later on, they sent me, when they paid for the item, they then also sent me the screenshot of that thing that says, thanks, your order is complete, da-da-da. They sent me that screenshot. I'm like, you don't need to do this, mate, but it's cute. So treat your buyers like people. And when you treat them like people, you start to think about how people behave. It's not rocket science. You are also a people. You also know that. You also know when you see a 10% off sign in the window, you don't go into a store. So when you send offers, you don't send 10%. When somebody asks questions, if you feel like the question's a bit vague or a bit like, it's kind of obvious why you're asking this, you reply with, what do you mean exactly? Because guess what? When you go into a store to buy something, sometimes even in person, when you're in the store touching, feeling everything, which means that you have more input, more feedback than an online setting. The first question out of your mouth sometimes is the weirdest question. You go, hi, I have a question about this item. Does this item come in a different color? Okay, what color do you mean? Is this item suitable for a particular age group? What they're really saying is, please ask me a qualifying question so that I can tell you the full story. Because I'm afraid to tell you the whole story at first ask. Someone will say, hey, is this suitable for a child? I'm like, well, it depends how old your child is, and I guess, do they already have an existing setup? And then they'll say, well, my child is 6, they're autistic, they're nonverbal. There we go. Okay, well, from my understanding, this toy is good for that. It's pretty safe. It's made from this material. So I've had other customers who have autistic kids, and they find that the item is they're happy to have it and they keep buying. So I suppose it would be suitable if they are not rough. Do they throw their toys? Do they not? You get the idea. Like, not everyone will tell you the full story. And guess what? Those that do oftentimes get shut down because they, like the number of times, like sellers on Facebook groups. I just realized that this thing is not going to end yet, but I'm almost home. The number of times that sellers will complain that I just got this long ass message with this person's life story. I feel like it's going to be trouble. No, they're a person. Treat them like a person, for crying out loud. Like, they've literally given you there's this concept called conversational threading that when I learned it, I started using it. Essentially, when someone says to you, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm a doctor. If the person doesn't know what else to say, end of conversation, right? But if they say, I'm a doctor, I specialize in children's medicine, I usually they'll go, oh, like a pediatrician. Yeah. But when you say pediatrician, people think, are you the guy that does feet? Because that's podiatry, and it's confusing. It's like, yeah, people confuse these things. Like, you see what I mean? Like, you give them more, and if you give them more, you have more to work with. So likewise, if you see somebody asking you a ton of questions via messages, don't see them as hard work. See it as conversational threading, that they're giving you a chance to connect with them on a bunch of different points, because connection makes people sticky. Treat your customers like people. Treat people on eBay like people. That's it. I think that about does it for this video.